recording the lectures so that you can view them later. And I've been able to figure out how to do it. So it's working. So again, welcome to Resource Management 201. What I'm going to start with today is the course content. So this is what this module entails. We're going to be going through the management of significant water resources in South Africa. And again, yesterday we discussed why is it important to manage water resources and how do you manage resources differently to the way you manage other types of ecosystems. That's very important. Then within the Water Act of South Africa, we have been given a strategy to manage and get the balance between the use and protection of resources right. It is called RDM. RDM. If you get one thing right today, I want you to remember what RDM is. Resource Directed Measures. RDM is the tool or the plan that we will use in South Africa to manage water resources. Okay. Manage water resources. And what that RDM approach allows us to do is get that balance between use and protection right. What we tried to explain yesterday as well is that there are resources and we manage them differently. You can't put a fence around water resources. So there are lots of different acts. And we've got the National Environmental Management Act, we've got the Water Act, different acts that help us manage these resources. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about classification. Now this is not classification of the type of ecosystem. This is the classification of ecosystems for high use or classification of ecosystems for high protection. So if we decide that one part of the resource we're going to use, we can also decide that that part of the resource we're going to protect. Okay? Environmental flows, resource quality objectives, and sustainable development goals, those are all targets that we use to get this balance between the use and protection right. And we looked at the SDGs yesterday. Eh? Then we're going to move on to rivers, and we're going to spend a lot of time on rivers. We're going to spend a lot of time on wetlands, lakes, groundwater ecosystems. You're going to spend a lot of time and more time this year on estuaries. And then we're going to look at industry-specific activities like fisheries and aquaculture. Do you know that UMP is building a big aquaculture facility? So that's something we want to drive from this university, is aquaculture and fisheries. Hydropower generation, that's using water to make electricity. And through the South African Biodiversity Institute, one of the National Environmental Management Act, the Department of Environmental Affairs, they have established a new unit. It was only established last year, called the Freshwater Biodiversity Unit. And we're going to talk about them and what they do. I'm hoping one day to actually get them to come up here to talk to you guys. And then they have a plan called the National Freshwater Priority Area. It's a set of maps or areas that are established as protected areas so that we can manage our resources well. And then finally, the present ecological state, ecologically importance database. Okay, that's the course content for REM201. You should be able to analyze and compare the effects of different types of human disturbances or stresses, multiple stresses on ecosystems. Explain principles and theory of freshwater ecology and apply them to manage and conserve your ecosystems, as well as looking at natural resources and natural resource infrastructure and capital around us. Okay, cool. Second year is different, eh? Second year is cool. Then discuss resource protection strategies, explain principles of aquatic ecosystem restoration. How would you do this? How would you actually manage? What is it that you're managing? How would you do it? How would you conserve this? Then guidelines for freshwater protection, and then recommend best practices for activities like aquaculture. Okay, someone once said this. Someone said this. I want to see if someone can tell me who said this. If you can tell me who said this, I'm going to give you a chocolate. Consider this. On this blue planet, less than 2.5% of our water is fresh. Less than 33% of that fresh water is fluid. In other words, more than, 67% of it is ice. So only 33% is fluid. Less than 1.7% of that fluid water runs in the streams and rivers. And we have stopped even them. We have dammed half of the world's rivers at unprecedented rates of 1 per hour and at unprecedented scales of over 45,000 dams more than 4 stories high. Okay, we have the power to stop and transform the Nile, the Amazon, the Congo, you name it, we can do it. Okay. Who said this? Huh? How did you know that? Dang, man. Hey, what's this? You can have to share. Well done, guys. It was Nelson Mandela. Okay, we spoke about this yesterday. This is a system. It includes us. If we think that water resources are something we can just go and take from, and we don't realize that we are a part of the system, there must be a balance. And we must consider more than just us. Okay, that's very important. So how are we doing? This is a map from the National Biodiversity State Assessment of South Africa. And you can see on the right-hand side, this one over here. Let me use a marker. Over here. This is a map showing all the critically endangered river systems that are totally unsustainable. We've destroyed them. They're no longer functioning. They don't have the biodiversity representative of what was there before we developed. Or endangered systems, those are on their way to becoming extinct. Vulnerable systems on their way to becoming endangered, so they're still not sustainable. And then least threatened. So of all of these, the blue and the yellow are the two that are being managed sustainably. And look at the country. Is the country dominated by blue and yellow? No, it is dominated by browns and reds. We have big problems, guys. Almost 80% of our river ecosystems are not sustainable. They're threatened. By the way, who knows where this blue area is? Does anybody know where that blue area is? Hey? Where the rivers are not threatened. Who knows where the blue area is? Pardon? Kind of, yeah. Cape, Northern Cape. But what is that area? What's in that area? What is special about the Northern Cape? It's a desert. It's a desert. So of course the rivers are healthy there because there's no rivers. You understand? There are drainage lines that get water once every 20 years. We can't destroy them because they don't exist there. Guys, we are in big trouble. If we don't do something, remember yesterday in that movie that guy said, can we reach sustainable development? Yes. But if we change our practice, if we do things differently. All right, where was I? And then this is a map of the river ecosystems in southern Africa that have critically endangered or endangered fish species. And most of them are endangered because of habitat removal, habitat destruction, pollution, multiple stresses. Multiple stresses. And remember, guys, so I want to show you that it's not just South Africa, it's southern Africa. In Africa, we have problems. All right. It's also like that the rest of the world. We spoke about this. What do we get from resources? What do we need? We have the opportunity to interact with our environment. We need to look at our systems differently, guys. But most importantly, we can't see into these systems. We cannot see what's happening inside them, so we don't understand them, so we don't care about them. So more important than making sure that these systems are are being sustainable, I want to make sure that we start to realize the importance of becoming aware of the fact that these systems exist and that things are happening in these systems. And that's hopefully what we're going to do with our journey, this module. Okay, is to show you that. And guys, you must enjoy these systems. We should be utilizing these systems. We want you to get bilharzia. I'm telling you, guys, I'm telling you. There are risks out there, but they're minimal. So we want to get into these systems. We want to enjoy them. We want to work with them. We want to use them. We want to protect them. Okay, that's so important. The next step is to show you that we're not just doing nothing. We are trying to do something. And in this area, I think last year you may have seen this, work has been done, and work is being done and updated every few years on trying to establish the status of these ecosystems, and also to ensure that we have got objectives that have been established to ensure that we manage these systems effectively. So we need to know, first of all, what are we dealing with? What is the state of those systems? What do we need to do to maintain those systems in a suitable state? So we are in this region, the Nkomati Usutu Catchment Management Agency is working on objectives to ensure that these systems are being managed effectively. And this is the recent output of the eco-status assessment for the whole area. So what they did is they went to look at the status of aquatic ecosystems focusing on rivers throughout the whole of the Nkomati, larger Nkomati catchment that goes into Mozambique. You can see it goes in here. But because the Sabi and the other rivers go into the Nkomati system in Mozambique, they've been included. So this includes the sand, the Sabi, the crocodile over here where we are, we're over there, as well as the Nkomati River, that whole area that has been looked at. Why would we look at that together? Because it is our whole catchment. The species are very similar. The drivers of change, you can see, change across the landscape. But you can see what you expect here, you expect to find in the Sabi River as well. So there are some similarities. And that is the management jurisdiction of the IUCMA. Okay, this is a focused area on the crocodile catchment. And this is a map to show you that we have different ecoregions that affect the crocodile catchment. There's the Crocodile River main stem, the Carp River subcatchment, the Elands River subcatchment, and other Crocodile River tributaries. Can you see these different colors? Main stem, tributaries, Elands River, Carp. Those are the different management units. And those rivers and those management units could be managed differently. The first thing that I want to show you is, if you look at the main stem crocodile compared to the Elands River, there's big dams and a lot of water flow modifications on the main stem crocodile. And the species list of fish, for example, in the upper crocodile is about 6 species. In the Elands River, oh, it's gone. In the Elands River, we have about 20 species. Many more species. And the land use activities, although one of the big sappy mill is there, the land use activities are different. Okay. And we've got a good conservation opportunity there. Carp River, lots of mining, lots of issues, big impacts here. And then the crocodile main stem itself, you know as well, that's what we live on. Okay. Some issues. So what do we do? So all those points, by the way, are sampling points where they're collecting data and they're going to the field to do some sampling, which is what you've done. The way that the eco-classification tool works is, first, we look at the catchment and the atmosphere. We consider all the land use activities, all the things that could be causing stresses, could be changing things. And those things that are causing stresses, all the land use activities, are things that are changing the physical properties of the resource. They are changing the water quality. They are changing the flows, the hydrology. They are changing the habitat structure, the geomorphology. Okay, so if you go there and you dig a mine, you're taking the soil out, you're changing the habitat, you're affecting geomorphology. If you build a dam or you abstract water, you affect the hydrology. If you release pollution or stresses into the environment, you change the water quality. Okay, so those are the stresses, and here they refer to as system drivers, that are affected by land use activities, land use changes. Then the habitat changes, and then the biological components of the system, the ecosystem responds to those changes. You with me? The ecosystem responds. When you change the drivers and you change the system, the ecosystem itself responds to those changes. And that's what they measure. They measure the land use. They measure the drivers. They measure the habitat. And they measure the response. Okay. And we're going to be involved in all of those. Your project this year is to apply this, by the way. You guys are going to apply this year. It's fantastic news. And how do we describe it? In what condition? How do we decide when we go and evaluate all of those components? We describe them in the context of A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, A is pristine, E is seriously, critically modified, unacceptable, unsustainable. D is largely modified poor, but some things are okay. C, B, and A, those are our management goals. We want them to be in a C, B, or an A. Okay, how are we doing? C's, not bad. C's, C plus, B, C, C's, B, C, 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 C. Okay? Who do you think did this work? Some scientists, technicians, not me. I've been working the Ellands River, by the way. I've been working here at the Ellands River between 2002 and 2008. So a lot of my old data is being used here. I had about 10 students, postgrad students who studied in the Ellands River, but I haven't worked in this one. Okay. Guys, I think they are smoking. I'm sorry, I think they are smoking. They're saying everything is actually okay. B's and C's. B's and C's here. Your job to check them. I think they're smoking. That's my hypothesis. They are smoking. I don't think they're correct. You guys are going to choose some of these sites for me, and you're going to go and update these. Because I don't think they're B's and C's. I think they're E's and F's. You guys are going to do it for me. And we're going to send the report back to them to say, please stop smoking. You with me? That's your job. I'm excited for your groups. All right. Let me show you what happens. This is the Mara River. This is something I've been working on recently. I was actually there a month ago. Because of the way they're changing the flows coming down the river. Guys, listen. Can you see that bank? You see all the wildebeest. This is in the Mara River in Kenya. They're trying to get over the river because they need to go find better feeding areas. They're looking for grass. But why is the bank like that? 10, 12 meters high. Because we took the forest out, and now instead of the flows coming slowly, they come fast. And they come so quick, they come down and they cut the bank away. So, this causes this. Hundreds of thousands of wildebeest are being drowned every day. There are 1.8 million wildebeest. They're losing 10-50% of the whole population every year because of this. And then when I go and look, I find that. And why? Because of the way we are managing our resources. And they don't understand. They're saying, but why? These wildebeest have been migrating all their lives. Why is there a problem now? What's changed? And they don't realize 300 kilometers upstream, the people are taking down all the forests for agriculture, for coffee, for tea, to plant crops. But they're not protecting the soils. They're not trying to retain the water. So it's causing these problems. And you guys are going to be the type of people who can help them understand these problems and avoid it. You with me? It's pretty cool, eh? Okay, we started off with dams. Let's end with dams. This is a map of all the dams that have been built around the world. A quarter of the rivers built around the world, or where dams have been built on, do no longer flow. Okay, look at the states, America. Do you know that in America today, more dams are being removed in America alone than the dams that are being built around the rest of the world? More dams in America and Europe are being removed now than being built. Many more. People are starting to realize, hang on, that wasn't a good plan. Okay? But what's the future plan? Where are we going? By the way, the size of the bubble represents the size of the dam. Look at where we're going. These are the areas that you can see have got very little dam development. That includes Africa and some of southern Africa. That's great. But we are developing. And these are our plans. These are the dams that are planned to be built in the developing regions of the world. Okay? Okay, we need to consider and contribute to this process. And you guys have the opportunity to do that. Cool. Okay. Easy peasy, huh? We're looking forward to it. All right, guys. So please give me your student numbers. And then tomorrow or next week, we're going to talk about your practical assignments for your term. It is a project that you're going to have to undertake for the rest of the term. But I need to test each person. So each person in your group is going to have to do a component and write their name down. Okay. Cool.